Good morning, West Coast. Good afternoon, East Coast. And we've made it to week 10. This is a really interesting week, guys, even for wagering, for fantasy football. We have a lot of quarterbacks that are questionable, a lot of game time decisions. So we're going to dive right into this. And as usual, we are going to start with our wagering. Fitz, our wagering master, is here with us live. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. It's a nice week 10 morning. We've, I guess, now more than halfway through the season since we're at that 17-week mark, but with playoffs almost the halfway point. It's been a great season so far, so let's kick off week 10 and talk about some gambling trends and some line movement and things. I know you're a Giants fan, JP, and I know I've been going back and back to the well.
Don't do it to me. Do not do it again.
So I have no bets today on this game. However, I do want to say that there is major sharp action on the Texans and some major sharp action on the over in this game. Huge movement in the over of the Giants-Houston Texans game. That makes Dameon Pierce a must-start in daily fantasy formats. He's being played by every single optimizer. And I actually really like the over. If you can get anything below the 41.5 number, we know 40 and 41 are both key NFL total numbers. 42 is not. So if you can get this at over 41 or over 40.5, I love it. It's at 41.5 in a few spots. That's obviously a trickier, sharper line considering key numbers, but good movement towards the over in that game. Sharps are loving the Steelers this week. I don't totally understand it. Maybe it's the return of TJ Watt. Maybe it's, coming off the bye for them. Maybe it's because the Saints have been struggling. I'm, again, staying away from this game, but I lean Saints here, going on the other direction of the sharps. And then really this Bills-Vikings game has been all over the place. I need to update myself if Josh Allen is going to be playing. I lean Case Keenum will win outright if he is the starter today.
So let me talk on that Josh Allen right now. So reports came out that he is active. However, he was not on the field for warmups. Only Case Keenum was on the field for warmups. So there's also side reports saying that Josh Allen will be active, but will be an emergency quarterback for the Bills. So it is still a total guessing game.
And we'll get like when Jameis was coming back from his back thing, and then Dalton was given the job even though Jameis was active for a few weeks.
Right. So we'll get into that when we get into the start and sit questions in terms of Josh Allen. But if you have Josh Allen, I'll give you a little sneak peek. I would kind of lean elsewhere, but we'll get on that. We'll get to that in a second.
I think that's a really good point. It definitely factors into the gambling angle. If we think Josh Allen is going to be ruled active but not playing, now is a great time to throw some money on the Vikings. If you could get this, it's back at the 4.5 number now. It was sitting at 3.5 pretty much all week, given the uncertainty around Josh Allen. You can get, a point of value if you want to, guess the right side of this. If JP's right and we're getting Allen active but not playing, then this line is certainly mispriced and that we should be backing the Vikings. I jumped on the Vikings plus 8.5 at the beginning of the week, so I've smashed the closing line value here. I'm wondering if I go the other way and throw some Bills money into the market to hedge off of this. I'm probably going to do that. And the other spot that I'm really considering doing that, JP, is Dallas Cowboys versus Green Bay Packers. Now, Green Bay has not been a underdog of this many points at Lambeau in, I think, Green Bay Packer history. Certainly not in the Aaron Rodgers and LaFleur timeline, or in Aaron Rodgers' career at all. But I don't know. How do you feel about the Cowboys traveling on the road to Lambeau this week? What does your gut tell you? I got this line at -2.5 and a look-ahead number. It moved all the way to 5. It's come back to 3.5. That shows that there's definitely Packers money re-entering the market when it got that high. So I could put a bet on both sides of the 3, and we know the 3 has the 15% chance of hitting. So it would be a plus EV play, plus more than expected value in terms of the math and the gambling odds if I were to bet both sides of this line and hit the middle of 3. But I don't know if I want to try doing that, or I just want to let my -2.5 ride because, again, I've beaten the market, but I'm scared of the reaction.
Right. So Lambeau Fields is scary, right, in general. And you're absolutely right. This is uncharted territory for the Green Bay Packers in terms of being at home against the Dallas Cowboys with a spread like this. However, with that being said, Ezekiel Elliott news just broke a little while ago. McCarthy said that he is most likely going to be inactive which means Tony Pollard will be again the lead back. So daily fantasy purposes, season-long fantasy purposes, get Pollard into your lineups. I still lean Dallas here, even at that 3.5 line. I just think that the Green Bay Packers are in shambles currently, and without Romeo Doubs in the lineup, I know he's been up and down and whatever you want to say, but he's been a kind of a security blanket for Rodgers. Without him playing, I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys here. I think they're just too explosive. I think this is another prove it type game for Dallas coming off of that bye. So I really do like Dallas in this spot.
Okay, I'm going to let it ride then. I'm not going to, because the right thing to do in terms of gambling math, like obviously if it hit the middle, that would be the biggest boost. But generally when you are gambling and you do beat the line, you don't want to hedge. Hedging decreases your value. If you already have a winning ticket in your back pocket, you ideally want to let it ride, unless you have this gut feeling of like, I don't know if I was only betting this to beat the market and I don't actually believe it in the game sphere. So like that's how I feel about Josh Allen and Case Keenum. I don't think Case Keenum is that big of a difference. I like to play into the revenge angle of Case Keenum and Diggs going against the Vikings again. I like to play the team at home and the Bills will be at home. I don't mind a backup quarterback if it's a veteran. And then you also have to take into account that the Vikings are now playing their fourth backup quarterback on the season. So yes, they beat the Dolphins. Great win, but it was against Skylar Thompson, not Tua. So like we need to take these things into account. Yes, they beat the Commanders. I don't know which quarterback you think is better, but they played the backup in Heineke. So like they keep getting the luck of the draw. I kind of a question throughout the whole NFL space is how real are this Vikings team or how fraudulent are they because of the schedule that they've been dealt? For that reason, I'm going to trust the Packers this week, and I'm going to probably hedge off some Bills a bit.
Right, and just talking on that Packers game, right? Packers do a really good job against the pass, not so good against the run. We know Dallas' offense is based off of that run game. I think Pollard has a fantastic game this week, and I think Dallas, again, on offense is going to hum a little bit, leaning on Pollard, who, in my opinion, is the better back currently for the Dallas Cowboys. The more run he gets, I think the better chances Dallas has to kind of running away with this, meaning winning by more than 4 points, in my opinion. Give Pollard the ball. He's explosive. He's going to get his share of carries this week, so that's why I'm kind of leaning towards Dallas. I am not going to bet it, however. I'm going to stay away. I don't like the 3.5 spreads, especially in Lambeau. But if I were to, gun to my head, take a bet here, I would take Dallas.
Cool. We're riding together, that means.
All right, so is that it for the wagering side on your end?
I could look
best
at
bet. Best bet. Who's the best bet for you right now?
Ooh. The lines.
I know you got on the lines have moved dramatically, and I think if you guys are listening right now, you need to follow Fitz on Twitter. He gets these lines out like a week and a half in advance, and it's huge advantage. He just mentioned the Vikings getting 8.5. It's now down to 4.5, 5, or whatever it is currently. That's a huge swing. So make sure you're following him on Twitter.
I'll stay in line with what I always do, and I'll give the people a bet for next Thursday because I don't love where the lines have moved considering where I got them. So it's hard for me to give a best bet when I'm sitting on a bet, that's 17% more likely to win because I have an extra 1.5 of CLV. So it's hard for me to give that out. Packers minus 1.5 home against the Titans, week 11, Thursday night football would be my best bet on the board right now. If you were going to jump in and take it, I am already on that. I've been on it for a few days. We are already seeing line movement towards the Packers this morning. That should affect the look-ahead market. We know that the Packers at home short week teams on the Thursday night have been backed all year. We just saw the Panthers won last week big against the Falcons. Everyone thought the Falcons were the better team. Short week, the home team has a big advantage. So I think Titans traveling on a short week after a big game against the Broncos this week, they could maintain a strong first place in a weak division while Green Bay has a lot to fight for. I like Green Bay minus 1.5 week 11 Thursday night football. I think this line moves to Green Bay minus 3 at kickoff.
So that's a huge line movement there. So if you have the opportunity to jump on that, jump on it now. In terms of that Minnesota game, I just want to talk on that Minnesota Bills game. I'm kind of loving Minnesota, even with the 4, 3.5, 5. I think Minnesota, like you just mentioned, Are they real? Are they fake? They know and they hear that noise. I think they come out very energetic, very fired up. The Bills are kind of on their toes. Is Josh Allen playing? Is Josh Allen not playing? So offensively, mentally, they may be all over the place a little bit today. I do like Minnesota here, and I would not mind for a little chunk of change, maybe throwing some money on Minnesota money line here. All right, it wouldn't be.
I think that's a good idea, JP.
I mean, if you think about it, right? Like,
if you're going to bet the spread, you should also play into the angle of the money line. And also remember that this total has moved from 48 all the way down to, it was down to 43 at a time. That was 5 points of movement, one of the biggest movements we've seen all season. Now it's down to 44 and a half, given the uncertainty around the Josh Allen news. If you have a game so sharp towards the underdog is more likely to prevail to cover a spread because there's less total points scored for the favorite to cover and pull away. So there's correlated values between low scoring games and underdogs. So given the movement in the total, it just bodes more to JP's point that if you are going to play the spread, you also should sprinkle on the money line for this game.
Let's win that money. All right, so let's go ahead and let's jump into some questions here that I got on my Twitter as well as some text messages. JStamp32 asks, need to drop one to pick up a streaming quarterback in case Kyler Murray, who is also a questionable game time decision, can't go. Should he drop Brandon Cooks or the Ravens defense, who has a good matchup next week coming off of a bye against the Carolina Panthers? Jason here. So I hate having to drop Brandon Cooks. I understand he hasn't done much. He's had, some moments where he's thrown some tantrums here. This could be a game where they kind of pepper him to keep him happy. I also don't like holding on to defenses if I don't have to. I understand the matchup next week against Carolina is a juicy one. With that being said, Carolina's offense isn't as bad as I think people are kind of pinpointing them to be. Foreman runs hard. They control the football. I'm keeping Brandon Cooks here, and I'm going to drop the Ravens defense.
I'm going the other way. I just think there's probably always a similar wide receiver type you can find on the waiver to a Brandon Cooks. Like, how much different would you feel about Brandon Cooks versus Mac Hollins this week?
Right. And I was all over Hollis earlier this week.
Right. And I say that because you were the one that encouraged me to go pick up Hollins. That was a great, point out by you. But inevitably, there will be those kind of things every week. If Davis Mills and the Texans weren't where Cooks was playing, if Cooks wasn't super unhappy with the team, then I would say hold on to Cooks. But also, given the schedule of the Ravens defense for the back half of this season, I am someone that's personally holding Ravens defense on my season-long fantasy team through the bye because their schedule for the remainder is just a piece of cake. So they should be amongst the top 2 or 3 defenses in the league. And for that reason, I think it's worth holding. And if you're going to have a Cooks guy he says my 5th wide receiver, that becomes valuable as bye weeks start to pass by. And you're like, oh, I don't even need 5 wide receivers anymore.
Yeah, I kind of skimmed over that part. And now that I see that it's your 5th and not your 4th, that makes a humongous difference in my opinion, especially if you're in a league that starts, let's just say, 2 wide receivers and a flex, even 3 wide receivers and a flex. The chances of you playing Cooks at this moment is slim to none. So, yeah, I would definitely drop him here because he is your 5th. So I counter that, and I agree with Fitz. Definitely keep the Ravens defense and drop Cooks because he is your 5th wide receiver. Next question comes from Javi Goal. Pittman, Ayuk, or Dolchik for his flex spot, full PPR. Who do you think, Fitz? I'll let you go first in this one.
Ayuk, it's not close. I think we can move on quickly.
Yep, I agree there. I think Ayuk is the play for sure on Sunday night. I believe they play, so I would go Ayuk. Candace, our friend Candace, Sports Ethos Seahawks coverage reporter, she asks Mike Gesicki or Dawson Knox. Looking at daily, Candace, I know they're very similarly priced. I think they're almost exactly the same on FanDuel. I lean Mike Gesicki here. I think the Dolphins are going to come out and just throw the heck out of the ball today. So I'm going to lean Gesicki. Also with Dawson Knox, I don't know who's playing quarterback, so I'm going to lean Gesicki here.
I lean Gesicki as well. Should be a shootout in that Miami game. Huge movement towards the over in that game versus huge movement towards the under in the Bills game. You don't know who Case Keenum has a rapport with. We know one of them is Stephon Diggs, right? So Diggs is going to get his fair share of targets. He's like the only guy that's not benchable. I would be considering pivoting away from Dawson Knox, Gabe Davis, even Singletary. Like you just don't know the way this Bills offense is going to run. if it's going to hum accordingly, like they do when they have the best quarterback in football. So for this week, Gesicki.
Let's touch on that Dolphins game real quick in a wagering standpoint, Fitz. What do you think? What do we see here? So right now, the line I see is at -3 for the Dolphins at home against the Cleveland Browns. I think I'm all over Dolphins today. I think offensively they do what the Browns can't stop, and that's throw the ball. I think the Dolphins come out and shotgun all game long and just absolutely put up some points this game. As you just mentioned, the over-under is pretty high. I'm leaning Dolphins. Where are you in this game?
Let me throw some cold water on that.
All right.
This line opened at Dolphins -4 or 4.5 at some spots. So we have to ask ourselves, why is it moved all the way to 3 if the Dolphins are at home? We know Cleveland is coming off their bye, so they're going to be the rest advantage team. We love rest advantage in NFL football this season because of the increased travel of these games. We're also seeing 72% of the bets placed on this game are on Miami, so clearly the public side, but 67% of the money bet is on Miami. So that means the people who are betting the bigger bucks are betting the Browns. The line is moving towards the Browns, and the public play is the Dolphins. So for those reasons, I was initially thinking Dolphins. I will not be playing this game because the right play is the Browns, but I'm with you. I don't really see it. I'd rather be on the Vikings side. I mean, on the Miami side. I wish the Miami side was the side. I wish the spread went from 4 to 4.5, and I would have played the 4.5. I'm hesitant to play the 3 because of the way the market has reflected. I play how the market moves, not how I view football, right? Although I think I have a good eye for football, I know I have an amazing eye for the gambling market. So if this line moved from 4 to 4.5, I would totally support your Dolphins position. But the movement to 3, very, very fishy. Fishier than a dolphin, I'll tell you that.
Let's get right to a live question we got here on our because it's a daily fantasy question. Mole asks, daily fantasy cash stack on early slate. Do we have any stacks, Fids, on the early slate game? Mahomes is playing in the early slate.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. It is Mahomes and Juju. They are both in my core 4 for this week. That is my cash stack. That is on the early slate. That game is projected to be 50.5 points. We know the Chiefs are -9.5, so the Chiefs have the highest implied total of any starting group. Mahomes threw the ball 68 times last game. It seems like they don't know what they're doing with their backfield, and it seems like Juju is emerging as a very strong possession wide receiver for them, taking a lot of the short game work and almost handling it as the run game because they don't have a run game. Love Juju, love Mahomes, absolute must plays this week. Mukmul, there you go.
Mukmul. All right, Mahomes, you heard it. Play that Chiefs stack in the early slate. Next question on the board. Raul asks, do I start Dalvin Cook or do I start Jerry Jeudy at my flex this week? I think that's more of a trickier question than one would imply because Dalvin Cook is Dalvin Cook. However, I still lean Dalvin Cook in a tough game against the Buffalo defense. I'm always nervous with these Denver wide receivers because one game Jeudy, one game Sutton, one game Jeudy. It's been Jeudy recently, but coming off a bye, it could be Sutton. So I'm still going to start my first-round pick in Dalvin Cook this week against the Bills.
Cook against the Bills for sure. Jeudy is going against the Titans. That game, Titans suck on protecting the pass game, but it should be a very low-scoring game. So for that reason, I would lean Cook.
Okay, both in agreement for Cook. Next question, full-point PPR. Mooney, Smith, Pittman, or Sutton? Devontae Smith, Pittman, Sutton, Mooney. Go ahead, Fitz. I'll let you go first on this one. I think we'll be in agreement.
Honestly, I don't know if we're going to be in. For me, it's either Smith or Sutton. I don't trust Mooney right now. There's way too much public action on the Bears. There's way too much movement towards Fields, and he's finally whatever. I don't trust it. No. I know he's playing against the Detroit Lions. I know they suck on defense. I don't trust it. Don't want to do it. Pittman with Ellinger against they've been saying they're going to run the ball all week. Jonathan Taylor's active and healthy. I wouldn't go that direction. I think it's Devonta Smith or Sutton. Break the tiebreaker for me.
Devontae Smith is my pick here. I understand Devontae Smith has had some consecutive down weeks. I think this is the time he comes prime time. We see a lot of Devontae Smith in this game on Monday night. So give me Devontae Smith. I agree. Pittman with Allen, I don't like it. I think the Colts go back to what they did well last year, and that's run the football. Jeff Saturday is bringing a sense of excitement to this offense. And if you know anything about Jeff Saturday, he was an offensive lineman, a center. He's going to want to pound the rock. I get it. He played with Peyton Manning, and they threw the ball a lot. However, with that being said, I think they get back to their bread and butter, and that's run, run, run. Mooney, I am 100% in agreement with you. This Bears offense is still scary for me in terms of if I'm going to start or sit anybody in this offense. Fields, in terms of dynasty football, obviously you want to keep him, but I would not really enjoy or want to start him this week unless, of course, I have one of those questionable quarterbacks. I'm actually starting Trevor Lawrence this week in one of my leagues, and that's going to be the next. That is one of the next question here. Is Trevor Lawrence or Josh Allen, or I'll even add Justin Fields here. I like Trevor Lawrence this week. I know that may sound crazy. You know me, Fitz. I'm the type of guy that goes with my gut in terms of this is a prove-it game. I think Trevor Lawrence against the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes is going to want to prove that he is a top echelon type quarterback moving forward in the NFL. I like Trevor Lawrence. I don't think the Jags, win that game. I think they're going to be playing from behind a lot, which is why I want to play Trevor Lawrence.
Okay. Well, first off, let me apologize for moving around so much. My dog's been barking like crazy. And I got a personal phone call before we started, so I couldn't take her out this morning. So I might need to go a few minutes early because she is going crazy. However, let's answer this question. Josh Allen, simply unplayable unless we get a Schefter text that he's full go. Like, unless we get a Schefter Rappaport, Pelissero tweet that says he is fine, he's good to go, he's unplayable. So let's cross his name off. Trevor Lawrence versus Fields. I mean, I think you're taking a little bit of a crazy pill there because if we're talking about fantasy points with Fields' rushing outside, I do think Lawrence is a good play this week. I straight up, I think Lawrence is a good play. I think Brissett is a good play this week for a plug and play. However, over Fields, I don't know. I will say I do like Fields' under on his rushing prop. I just think the whole world is on it, so I think it's naturally fade the public season. So if we go under the rushing yards, that would lean to a less of a Fields fantasy play. So I hear you, but I wouldn't do it myself. All
right. Obviously, the next question, Tua over Josh Allen, because of what we just said. We don't know enough about Josh Allen just yet. So
and Tua over all the other ones we mentioned, I think.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Next question, pick 2. Hopkins, Olave, or Cooper in a PPR? Hopkins, Olave, or Cooper in a PPR?
Hopkins and Cooper.
This is so tough because is Kyler Murray playing? I don't even know. He's still questionable. With that being said, does it matter because it's Hopkins? They're just going to throw the ball up to him anyway. Oh man, this is a tough one.
I think let me answer what Bronny. You got to be quiet back there, and then.
He's like, Dad, take me out. I gotta go.
So the reason I would go Hopkins is because he's such a strong possession receiver. I do think Kyler's going to play, but I think whoever's starting at quarterback there is going to get Hopkins the most involved, and he'll be equally involved as all these guys. There's been so much trends to back the Steelers in this Saints game. That's what scares me. And we have to remember that TJ Watt is coming back. So the Steelers sack rate with Watt is number 1 in the NFL. Without Watt is literally number 32, dead last. So if they're bringing a lot more pressure this week, maybe that opens up less for Olave. Cooper, we know that game is sharp from a 48 to a 49.5. It should be a shootout. We know the Miami Dolphins actually defend the run really well. So we're expecting, I just said it should be a good Jacoby Brissett game. Who's he throwing to? It's Amari. So I like Amari. I like Hop. I like all of them, but I like those two the best.
Okay. I'll jump on board with that as well. Let's just go ahead, put in Hopkins, put in Cooper. Next question. Would you dump Josh Reynolds for Noah Brown, Nico Collins, or Chris Moore, or just keep him? 14-team PPR.
I think Nico's an interesting stash because Brandon Cooks is going through this turmoil, but Nico's been so unhealthy all season that it's hard to do. But Nico's just one of these guys who's big, and he's a go-get-it receiver. He's a throw-a-jump ball receiver. He's a freak athlete possession receiver. similar to a Treylon Burks that we're just waiting for the breakout. Like it came with AJ Brown. It generally comes with these type of, builds, a Julio Jones type. Nico Collins is this monster. Again, but he's just the second wide receiver on the Texans who's always hurt. So
right.
I don't really trust Noah Brown. I don't really trust any of them, to be honest.
Yeah, but I agree with you in terms of possible upside with Nico in comparison to even Josh
late
Reynolds.
Season, if Cooks is gone, if he's put away from this team, if they're just throwing the ball to Nico to 10 times because he's finally playing again, that's the one with upside.
Yeah, so I agree there. I would go ahead, drop Josh Reynolds, and go ahead and pick yourself up some Nico Collins, and let's see what happens there in Houston in terms of Brandon Cooks. All right. That's all the start and sit questions. Do you have any other daily or start and sits or anything that on your end?
Before I head out, let me just say the daily 4 players that I'm absolutely playing are Mahomes, Juju, Dameon Pierce, and Foster Moreau. So I think those are the core 4 for daily fantasy. I actually said on my podcast, JP, that I would give out my whole lineup because I was trying to get us some more viewers. So I said if they came and joined us this week, I would give out my whole lineup. So you ready? Here it is. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to go walk my dog. It is Mahomes, Pierce, Etienne. Actually, I'm going to give you this one. Mahomes, Derrick Henry, Pierce, Tyreek Hill, Van Jefferson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Foster Moreau, Greg Dulcich, two tight ends, and the Minnesota Vikings defense if Josh Allen is out. If not, I'm going to make a few quick pivots and go to the Cardinals defense. And I got to go walk my dog. Love you guys. Take care. And I will see you next week.
All right, guys. So please make sure that you're subscribed, you're liking this, and we'll be back next week. Make sure you get on my Twitter. Ask me the questions that you want. I was ahead of this Raiders news way before a lot of people were. So make sure you're following me on Twitter. Follow Fids for all fantasy and wagering. You guys have a great week 10. Best of luck. We'll see you guys next week.